بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Beloved brothers and sisters, honorable ulama, huffaz, hujjaj, mothers and fathers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. كيف حالكم؟ Alhamdulillah. Beloved brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, last week in our fiqh, we started with the conditions of wudu, and this week it is the conclusion of that. This is part 2 this week, Alhamdulillah. And so last week we mentioned in a quick revision of what we discussed last week that wudu has 10 conditions, 10 shurut. And the 5 that we mentioned last week, to quickly revise, is the first, Islam; the second, tamyiz. Now, without reading the slide, if anyone can remember what tamyiz is, excellent, mashallah. Tamyiz is the capacity to differentiate. And there was a nice way in which the fuqaha defined tamyiz, that the body must be able to do what, if anyone can recall? Eat, drink, toilet on their own. On their own, yani. Jazakallah khairan, ahsan hafid. And then cleanliness from menstruation and postnatal bleeding. The 4th, to be free from that which prevents water from reaching the skin. The 5th one is that nothing should be upon the limb that will change the qualities of the water. And so this week we complete the shurut with the next 5. So the Shaykh writes, the 6th one, وَالْعِلْمِ بِفَرْضِيَّتِهِ. The 7th, وَأَنْ لَا يَعْتَقِدْ فَرْضًا مِنْ فُرُوضِهِ سُنَّةً. Just quickly pause on number 6 and number 7. This is very important. The Shaykh writes that a shart, a condition for the validity of your wudu, is that you know when that wudu is fard. So you need to have studied. That's the first point. Second, or number 7, وَأَنْ لَا يَعْتَقِدَ فَرْضًا مِنْ فُرُوضِهِ سُنَّةً. That you must not assume a fard act of your wudu to be sunnah. This is absolutely critical, my dear brothers and sisters. That for the validity of your wudu, you need to know the washing of this part is fard. You can't guess. I can't guess. We must be clear, this is fard. And that particular action is sunnah. But if we look at how the Shaykh writes it, he says, you mustn't assume a fard action to be sunnah. There is some leeway if you assumed a sunnah action to be fard. For example, maybe gargling. If you thought, okay, I had to gargle, it is fard. There's not much harm there. But if you assumed a fard action to be sunnah, then you have invalidated the validity of the wudu. Which is so important because every Muslim must learn. The reminder to parents, kids from young must go to madrasa maktab. From young, a child must not reach the teenage years and not know whether an action is fard or sunnah. Okay? The 8th one is that وَالْمَاءُ طَهُورٌ, that the water must be pure. And then the 9th and the 10th, the Shaykh writes وَدُخُولُ الْوَقْتِ, that the waqt must enter for the wudu to be intact. Oh, why does the Shaykh write that? وَالْمُوَالَاتُ لِدَائِمِ الْحَدَثِ, and continuity. We've spoken about muwalat previously, that you must continue in the performance of your actions. You can't take a break. And how do we define muwalat? That the previous organ is still wet before you wash the next limb. Okay, the previous limb is still wet before you wash the next limb. Or by the time you wash the next limb, that previous limb is still wet. But now you see that I've made number 9 and 10 in red. Because the first 8 conditions apply to everyone. Condition number 9, dukhulul waqt. Now we have to reflect. Why would the Shaykh write that it is a shart, a condition for the waqt of salah to enter, for the wudu to be valid for that salah? Is that a norm? You can technically take wudu, you know, if you think of going, mashallah, some are going to the haram, and they take wudu after dhuhr, they stay right through till Isha maybe. So they didn't refresh their wudu. So that understanding and that practice goes against what the Shaykh has written. But the Shaykh wrote this because condition number 9 and 10, wal muwalat li da'im al-hadath, and continuity for the one who's always in a state of impurity, actually the answer is there. Condition number 9 and 10 is for the people who experience a continuous impurity. And that will be a lot of people. So as men age, as they age, they lose control of their bladders. So the older man usually gets some urine can come out without them having intended it, right? So medically, they refer to this as urinary incontinence, right? That some urine comes out. They didn't intend, but it came out. And a common question that many seniors often ask me, they'll say, Sheikh, I use the toilet at home, then I took wudu, and by the time I come to the masjid, I need to go to toilet again. Okay, then they maybe take wudu, go to toilet, take wudu, and then they're about to perform salah and they feel they need to go again. And sometimes they can't even control it, and some urine comes out. And so they asked, one particular person asked me, I think last year or so, it happens during the Jumu'ah, that I can't go 15 minutes without needing the toilet. So, and the urine just comes. So if a male is in this category, then condition 9 and 10 apply to that male. A female also, if a lady has given birth, and as she ages, she can lose control of that. You know, sometimes even women, when they are older, and they laugh and they say, Allah, it's uitgekom, you know. It's normal, it's part of aging. So what is the fiqh leeway for such individuals? The Shaykh writes, condition 9 and 10, if you experience this, that your hadath, your impurity is coming out, you didn't intend for it to come out and it comes out, then you have condition 9, the waqt must have entered. So the waqt of Asr enters, now you take wudu. And then you also, muwalat applies to you explicitly, that you didn't take long to complete your wudu. So you did it continuously, and then you perform your ibadah. And so if something happens during your ibadah, there is no repetition. If you are in your salah and something comes out, now firstly the hadith indicate that if you are in salah and you experience something, that is from shaitan. Sometimes you're in salah and you think, there was movement at the bottom, did I release a wind? Now so now we start questioning, did I release a wind? Now this is tashwish, this is interference from shaitan, because shaitan wants to distract us. So if we didn't force anything out, then we treat it as though nothing happened, and you pay attention in your salah. For the person medically, if something comes out, that is your state. And as men, I remind men and women, as we age, sometimes even if we don't age, I know some young people, similar medical conditions, that there's always something coming out. So what's the ruling? You clean yourself, the waqt must enter. Take wudu consistently, don't pause in it, and you perform your ibadah. And you don't need to repeat it. This is different to a person who doesn't have the medical condition, right? But he generally does not have it, or she does not have it, and they enter salah, but maybe they were lazy to go to the toilet. Sometimes we say, oh, I don't want to take up dust now. I'm going to perform my salah. Now you keep in urine that needs to actually come out. And the Prophet said that this is actually, it is makruh. You should not perform your salah with your body needing to go because you won't concentrate. So you must actually go to see to your need and then enter the salah. So a person delays and they enter their salah and there's already an urge to go. Now, of course, the body is only going to hold it in so long. So in the salah, something comes out and now we're done with the salah and we go to the toilet and we see something came out. But you don't normally have the medical condition. This does not apply to you. Your salah was invalidated. Because you generally, or I generally don't have that condition. We forced our body into the situation where we had to go, but we chose not to go because we wanted to keep the wudu. That is makruh. The salah was also makruh. So we should be clear on this. If you have the condition, then Allah, mashallah, the fiqh is easy on us. We are forgiven. As long as the waqt had entered and we do the wudu consistently. So I conclude this evening, alhamdulillah, that the conditions for wudu are 10. 8 applies to everyone, and number 9 and number 10 apply to those who have a particular condition in that. And similarly, I spoke about that, but also let's say you have a wound where it passes. So now you wipe the wound, the same thing, passes is najis. So it passes. So what do? You clean before, waqt enters, take wudu, perform your ibadah, whatever came out during that time, you are forgiven. There's no need to repeat it. Okay? The second point is that please let us know what is fard and sunnah. Very important. Even if you have to revise some of this fiqh, what is fard? That I need to know. It is a condition for the validity of my wudu, and there are additional conditions for those who are medically eligible that I've just touched on. Alhamdulillah. And with that, we conclude this section. Any questions?
Just on that last question.
Yes.
To identify what part of your wudu is farad, what part is sunnah.
Yes.
Now we know that the sequence of washing your body, that's farad.
In Shafi'i madhab, yes, tartib.
Yeah, that's farad. But now the washing of which limb, the right or the left, that is not farad.
Excellent, yes.
The reason why I'm asking is let's assume you take wudu. So your right foot first and then your left foot. But by the time you get to the left foot, you realize the back of your heel is a bit dry. So you don't
Of which foot?
of your right foot.
Okay.
You realize your right foot is dry. So now you don't have to take complete wudu. It's just the right foot because the feet are considered this one.
Yes.
That's the right foot.
Correct, yes. Correct understanding. Accent. Wudu is valid. Aql is considered intellect, right? Tamyiz is a categorization in fiqh where we say that the person has the capacity which precedes bulugh, maturity. So tamyiz we use in fiqh to say the person, as Hafidh identified, can eat. So physically, they can eat, drink, and go to the toilet on their own without assistance. Then in terms of the knowledge of Islam, they must be able to differentiate between halal and haram. What is rewarding, what is sinful. So aql is the concept of intellect, it is broad. So aql, ghair aql means that the person's insane. So aql will be linked to sanity, that they must have, but aql is like the concept of sanity. We could link it to the concept of sanity, but not the same as tamyiz, because a baby, a 2-year-old can be sane, but not have the ability to differentiate. Yeah. Afwan. Jazakallahu khairan wa sallallahu wa sallam alayhi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.